Well, welcome. It's officially time for me to start, and since we're tied to internet time here via this broadcast schedule, I will be dutiful. What's happening here is absolutely inconceivable. Literally, absolutely inconceivable. You can't conceive of it. It cannot be conceived of. It's not of a nature of something that can be accurately grasped by a concept, an analysis, an abstraction. No matter how ingenious, you can be the most brilliant mathematician at MIT and have turned out that, made Einstein look like a fool, and you still cannot capture what this is. Because it is infinitely multidimensional. Um, now that sounds really fancy, infinitely multidimensional. And it turns out that it just actually is. And you can't make sense of what that means because the way in which it's infinitely multidimensional and exactly what infinite multidimensionality is of course inconceivable, since it's what this is. So the fact that it's infinitely multidimensional is just kind of hanging out there. You can't really do much with it, seemingly. But this fact is a powerful fact. This fact is an important fact because in our normal human modes, what we do is we analyze things and we think we have some degree of a handle on them. We think we know what things are. We think we know what's going on to some degree, maybe even vaguely, but we think we can call a spade a spade. We think up is up and down is down, and this is my body and this is space time and this is my life and all of this. And the unfortunate fact is that this normal human consensus reality approach to things is entirely and utterly inaccurate. And unfortunately, the inaccuracy goes towards limiting it, goes towards censoring it, it goes towards making it less than it is. So in essence, anytime you think you know what anything is, anytime you think you have a handle on things, what you're actually doing is limiting, diminishing your possibilities of being with it, of what it is, of how you are with it, of what the possibilities are, and so on and so forth. So this infinite multidimensionality, which sounds really grandiose and which you can't get a handle on, so is potent because it is a realm of open-ended possibility. It's a realm of open-ended opportunity. What anything is, what is going on here, the way in which it is going on, what you are, what this is, what action is, what interaction is, what life is, what participation in life is all vastly beyond the most astounding and extreme human philosophies. And by being with it open-endedly, by being with it in the context of not trying to pin it down or get a handle on it, you open the doorway to the possibility of being with it more freshly, more spontaneously, more multidimensional, more open, more unlimitedly. So, in short, normal human conceptualization creates a sense of limitation. We make ourselves smaller than we are. We make the world smaller than it is. We make the chain of events that we're involved in smaller than they are. We make our lives smaller than it is, because all of this conceiving of it is basically a censorship. It's trying to get a handle on and saying it's this. And when you say it's this, okay, that's fine. Maybe it is that, but it's also more than that. And it's also more than that. And it's also more than that. And it's also more than that. But by holding it as this, you're shutting the door to allowing yourself direct and explicit access to the possibilities of ways in which it transcends what you're holding it to be, ways in which you transcend what you're holding yourself to be, across the board. pretty good. Says it all. So, another aspect of all of this is that the level at which these interpretive frameworks are held in the mind is generally unconsciously and generally as belief systems. So, for example, we're all raised as kids by our parents and by society, and we're taught language and all that. And, you're a human being, and you're a boy or a girl, and your name is so and so, and you're doing this, and I'm mommy, and I'm daddy, and we're doing this, and we're doing that, and this is how you do things, and this is how you don't do things, and all of this conditioning, all this brainwashing, becomes a kind of a subliminal template that, to one degree or another, gets implanted in an unconscious belief system where you, to one degree or another, are holding things to be a certain way. Aside from more explicit stuff like, what you should, like moral codes and ethics and all that, even the structure of language. Language is constructed out of nouns and verbs. Nouns are things and verbs are actions. Guess what? In reality, there are no things. In reality, there are no actions. It's slipperier than that. It's weirder than that. It's much more multidimensional than that. So even approaching it simplistically, just in terms of the structure of language, of, well, what's going on here? What am I doing? I'm doing this. This is happening. That is there. This is here. All of that is compartmentalizing it, is slicing this astounding infinite continuum into all these little theoretical separate pieces, which are differentiable from each other and which are distinct. And this is this, and it's not that, and that is that, and not this, which is just inaccurate. It's just not like that, because the way in which this is what it is very strange and very nonlinear, very multidimensional. It's about your experience is a continuum, right? I mean, here and here aren't separated by here. Here comes with here and here. It's all just a smear. It's all a continuum. Self and other, again, it's a continuum. It's not like I'm self and there's this moat or this wall or this gap of vacuum, and all of a sudden there's other. We have this linguistic conceptual modes of self. But you look at your experience, you find your thoughts. Where's your thoughts? Here, an experience. Where's feeling your body? Here, an experience. Where's seeing the floor? Here, an experience. Where's seeing across the wall? Here, an experience. So it's all just a continuum, a continuous field of here-ness, of you-ness, of this-ness. But oh no, that's the wall, and that's that. And this is the floor, and it's this. And the floor is not the wall, and the wall is not the floor. So we slice this pie, this continuous pie, into these imaginary pieces and suppose that they're separate pieces that are actually distinct. The wall is not the floor is not the wall. They have nothing to do with each other. The wall's a wall, and the floor's, it's like, there's no wall, there's no floor, there's a field of experience. The field of experience is a very weird continuum. And when you look at the field of experience and try and figure out what it is, what's going on, how it works, you're just like, whoa, it's weird. It's weird how it works. It's slippery. You can't pin it down. It's not a simple logical thing where you can sort it out and see this part goes here and that part goes there, like you're taking apart a model clock or something. It's very, very strange. Oh.
That was me. Here.
I know, but it might have been me. Told me to call me here. So when you look at the actuality of your experience, it's a very strange, slippery thing. It's weird. It's very, very peculiar. And letting yourself notice that fact, letting yourself notice this slipperiness and this peculiarity is actually very empowering. It actually opens the doorway to a lusciousness and a richness and an engagement with actuality, which is very powerful and very fulfilling, because it's you. This is you. This experience is you. Your experience is you. I say, no, I'm over here, and I'm just, and my experience is kind of here, but I'm here. It's like, try to find a you that's separate from your experience. Try and find experience that's separate from a you. Try and find anything that's separate from anything. It all just shows up as this bizarre field of weirdness that is just, experience. It's like, that's a great word. Oh, it's experience. I know what it is. It's experience. It's like, yeah, right? What exactly is that? You can't answer that question. But you don't need to answer it because it's right here. You can examine it in as much detail and precision and engagement as you want. And it's not going anywhere. And it will reward you for such examination by letting you see how bizarre and amazing and inconceivably weird and slippery and wonderful and multidimensional that it is, which is a game changer. You discover, oh, I'm not this, this aging guy, semi-loser who's been living this marginal, sucks, and then you die, and then kind of them, more or less with slight variations, the normal human mindset, right? But it's all hogwash because there's no basis for it. You look at, am I old? Is experience old? Is it new? Is it what? It's just this, and it's you don't know. Wait a second, is my experience any older now than it was when I was one? It's the same thing. Experience doesn't get old. This field, this continuum that is here, that alone is here. My experience is alone here. That's the only thing I can be aware of, right? In my experience. If you exist and are not just a hallucination of mine, I presume that the same is true for you. When you go looking for anything, all you ever find is your own experience. Your field of experience is just right here, like always. And it's not any different than it has ever been, is it? I mean, it looks different. It's always like presenting this amazing different patterns and all these incredible different textures and tastes and flavors and so on. But is experiencing really do anything? Is it gone anywhere? It's always just this here, looking like some weird something. Maybe it looks like sitting in this room having this talk. Maybe it looks like you're sound asleep, or maybe it looks like you're lost in a dream somewhere. Maybe who knows, right? But it's always the same. It's just all of these different patterns appearing, coming and going, and you can never get a handle on what any of them actually are, because you look at the patterns and they're infinite. They're fractals. It's like how many different ways have you experienced your hand? Is there like a definitive way that you've experienced your hand? Every time you've experienced your hand, you have a different experience, a variation on a theme, right? All your life and forever. And you're never going to get like, okay, now I know everything that there is to know about my hand. I'm never going to have a new experience with my hand. On the contrary, you'll never not have a new experience with your hand. You'll never have a repetition of a previous experience with your hand because it'll always be subtly different. And if you look into that subtlety, it's bottomless. So it's completely and utterly different every instant. So, well, that's a little bit of a digression, I guess. Not really.
From what?
Yeah, from what? Anyway, I'm just rambling on. So that's kind of my topic, my theme. There's two paths you can go by, and in the long run, you can still change the road you're on. Thank you, Robert Plant. But the Buddhists call it samsara and nirvana, right? Or you can call it spirituality and materialism. There's all these different ways of slicing and dicing these. You can be with delusion of thinking you have a clue, thinking you have a handle, basically believing your own bullshit spin doctoring. Or you can settle into and open and play with and dance with and flirt with this amazingness of actuality that is here explicitly that you cannot possibly have a handle on. But then you don't need a handle because here it is. You have the real thing. You have direct engagement. So you can participate in it with no limitation, with no limitation whatsoever of how profoundly and intimately you can be with this and explore this. And you don't need to know what it is, because you couldn't anyway. Anyone that says they know what it is just bullshitting. I mean, those of you that have heard me do these talks, you've heard me say 100 times, and those of you who have said, "Here it comes, he's going to say it again." You could get the 100 greatest physicists of all time in here, and ask them, "What is matter? What is energy? What is an electron? What is anything?" And to a person, they would say, "We don't know. We can tell you a lot about it. We can tell you a lot about how it responds to certain measurements in specific contexts. We can tell you a lot about mathematical ways of approximating the way it seems to behave in certain specifically defined contexts, but we don't know what it is." Because you can't know what it is. But you don't need to know what it is, because you are it. You have it. It's this here. And it's really about letting go and dancing with it, and not about sitting, scratching your head, trying to bullshit that you Well, that was a little harsh. So anyway,
it seems like comforting or like liberating to consider and contemplate that the weirdness or the slipperiness of it all. But somehow it seems like at the end of the day, it always like defaults back to this.
Sure.
It's kind of hard to get out of it.
Yeah, but you don't need to get out of this, because again, it's not. What I was bullshitting when I said there's two paths and that you can be on one or the other. It's not like that. You're always on both paths, because you're always in a context of actuality. Actuality never goes away. The slippery, undefined weirdness never goes anywhere. And yet consciousness is continually and spontaneously spitting out these models and these templates, and this and that's that, and maybe this is this, and maybe this is going on, and I'm all right, clever, I can figure out that this is this, and all this stuff. But that happens unceasingly, but it happens in the context of this direct weirdness. So they aren't mutually exclusive. They aren't even antagonistic. So it's a matter of just realizing that your mind is crazy, that you're a crazy person. Your mind spits out all of this garbage unceasingly, and always will, probably. But it doesn't matter, because it doesn't actually block anything. It doesn't actually impede anything. The slippery weirdness never goes away. It's always right here, and it's always completely available.
It'd be nice to notice it more at a time.
Sure. Well, how about it?
Yeah.
It's down to artfulness. Play with it. Maybe it's possible to do that. Maybe you can really get really subtle and notice how the mind's amazing spontaneous urge to analyze and all that is itself slippery weirdness. I mean, what's that? Where does that come from? How's that happen? What's that made of? It's all very. There's no limits to the possibilities. It's all very, very slippery. There's always a fine print that things are this way, that way, this way, that way. But the bottom's a fine print and says, by the way, it's not really like that. Without needing to not be like that, it just isn't. So it can be like that, but it isn't. So there's always a back door. It's always like a movie set or a template where it's always a partial presentation that doesn't actually block anything, because you peek around the side and it's all held together with gaffer tape and spray paint.
That limited model seems to have a lot of power and sway.
Mm-hmm. It does. It's enormously powerful. It's powerful because it has the power of this behind it. What's doing this is all power, and what's doing this is doing that. So
What's doing the not noticing? I mean, for example, sometimes I'm conscious. Most of the time I'm not conscious. When I'm conscious, I'm more conscious than I'm unconscious. And there's times when I'm loving or more open or
Sure.
more closed. And that can become quite a problematic thing. Well, so how do I become notice more? How do I become more conscious? And that to me seems like
it seems like a problem
seems
when
like
you
it.
play one thing off against another.
Yeah.
When you play more conscious off against less conscious, so you play more loving off against less loving, or you play more open off against whatever. When you play a game like that, you're screwing yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot because it's not like that. You don't need it. It's not like you need to choose. Unconsciousness is a mode of consciousness. Not noticing is a mode of noticing. Is noticing. Noticing is noticing. Because there's only one thing happening here that only happens in one way. So even the things, the aspects of it we define as I'm doing it all wrong, I'm screwed up, I'm tied up in knots, I'm an emotional wreck, I've lost it, I'm a nutcase, I'm completely deluded. Even that is entirely miraculous.
Yeah.
It's literally miraculous. It's made of miracle. It's being done by miracle. It's being perceived miraculously by a miraculous, inconceivable potency. So it's not actually like a this and a that. It's not actually like a doing it right or not doing it.
Including like not noticing our unconsciousness, loving,
Totally.
not loving. It's the same.
Yeah, it's all the same.
Genius or whatever that is at work.
Precisely.
Really strange.
Precisely. I mean, people that are of a more religious mindset, or Hindus and Orthodox Hindus and stuff will say, God, it's all God. God's doing it. God does illusion. God does confusion. God does hate.
I understand that intellectually, but I mean, I just still notice most of the time. Say, I'm not conscious a lot of the time. It's just It's just how it is. It's just sort of.
But
I don't want to make it big. I'm examining that.
No, totally. But it's a good thing to examine.
Yeah.
When you examine unconscious, when you have sufficient consciousness, even a little, to examine unconsciousness, even if the unconsciousness is prevalent, okay? If you look at, how's that happening? Where's that coming from? What's that made of? What is unconsciousness made of? Where is it? What's perceiving it? What's doing it? How's it appearing? What's its arc? Where does it come from? Where is it going to? And all. You'll just be in this amazing. It'll be like, wow. It's too weird. It's just too weird. Unconsciousness isn't even unconsciousness. It's just weirdness. And consciousness, noticing, like being really on the ball, and boy, I've got it now. I'm really awake, and I'm, that's weird too. It's not any less weird, or more weird for that matter. It's just all the same. This, we are so used to a gamesmanship of playing what this looks like this way and what this looks like that way off against itself. But it's not. This is not changed by what it looks like. What this is completely, let's say, bulletproof. It's invulnerable to. It's not affected by what it looks like. It can look like extreme horror. It can look like glorious beauty, and it's still exactly the same thing. It's not improved when it's beautiful or harmonious, and it's not diminished when it's ugly or warped or turbulent. It just has all these infinite modes of presentation, and it looks like this and it looks like that. But there's no actual value system where this way of appearing is better or worse than that way of appearing. Closeness and hatred are bad. Openness and compassion are good. Well, sure, they're great. By all means, have at it, and try and, that's a good thing to do. I mean, world peace would be great, right? But in terms of reality, and reality is the only thing that's actually here. And the reality is what you actually are. So your whole life could crash and burn. You could fail. You can have horrible disease. The society can go to hell in a handbasket. Humans can be extinct in a week. And what you are will not be diminished the tiniest bit from that. And on the contrary, everything could go great and, whatever. I mean, spin your own scenario of the ultimate, inconceivable good luck. And it wouldn't be improved. What this is would just still be this. Exactly, precisely this, with no
So it's
diminishment.
this, whether you notice it or don't notice it, whether
Yeah.
you're unconscious or conscious.
Exactly.
I looked at unconsciousness. I spent a few years just looking at unconsciousness.
And we all.
A vast continent of,
No, hey, it's limit. It's bottomless.
yeah.
The fact of how bottomless it is proof that it's infinite. It is transcendental. How could it be so bottomless? But that's the
So
point.
to fixate, say, what this man's here, noticing, not noticing consciousness, unconscious.
Yeah.
That's not really seems like another way to.
Playing it off against itself,
Yeah.
playing a game of a value judgment, a value assessment where this is better than that,
Yeah.
that is how you drive yourself nuts.
So trying to be conscious or trying to know
Anything,
that
playing
drives you
playing
nuts.
conscious against unconscious, playing compassionate against selfish, playing anything against anything is insanity. That's the very nature of delusion. Playing delusion against realization is completely delusive, completely delusional. So stop it,
Yeah.
or not, doesn't matter. Because what this is completely upstream from what it looks like. In other words, it's not causally related to what it's causing. Everything that appears, but what appears has no backlash. So you have the horror of the Holocaust and there's Nazi jerks doing all their stupid, totally evil, perverse things. It means nothing to reality. I mean, from the human point of view, it sucks, and by all means try to fight them and all that. But reality doesn't care. Humans go extinct, reality doesn't care. The planet explodes, reality doesn't care. The galaxy hits another galaxy, and they both in this massive cataclysm. Reality doesn't care. Reality is just this right here. And all of these appearances are coming and going, but reality is always just this here. And it's not going in.
So much of evolution just to get to this supposed point where a supposed human can contemplate that idea that
Sure, all that.
if the world explodes, then there's somehow having to start over again to get to this point.
Doesn't matter, because what's doing it, because all of that eventfulness is just an expression of what this is. I mean, so here's this amazing biosphere, so Earth formed, right? This is big ball of matter, and these energy conditions happened, and blah blah blah. Anyway, something happened where all of a sudden there was a life. All of a sudden there was another kind of a interaction among the manifestation, and all of a sudden it turns into a biosphere, and all these various life forms begin to manifest, and then we have the evolution and so on and so forth. But where's all that stuff coming from? What's doing it all? It's like, think of a dream that you have, like a dream you had last night. Where did the dream come from? The dream came from you. You didn't come from the dream. And when the dream ends, you don't end. When the dreams, say it's a dream which is some amazing build into some wonderful conclusion, but from the point of view of the dream, if it hadn't gone through all the stages, it couldn't have got to where it's going to. But from the point of view of the dreamer, you were there before the dream even showed up. You're there while the dream's happening, and after the dream's over, you're still there. So what's doing the human biosphere, what's doing evolution, was already here before it even started, before the solar system formed. And it's going to be here after humans are extinct and the Earth is a cinder. Because all of that show comes from what this is. And what this is completely invulnerable and eternal and independent. What this is beyond space and time. Right now, right here, you are beyond space and time. Space and time is seemingly appearing in you, but what you are, not in some abstract poetic sense, but literally, physically, what you are right here, right now, is beyond space and time. It hasn't changed. It never has changed. It never will change. But who is shit? It's the fact. After you die, it's going to be here, because your birth and death are just apparitions in it, and it is independent. It's beyond the apparent. These fake yous appearing are nothing but that. The dream, when you have a dream at night, it's not the dream is a fake you. The dream is an expression of the real you. It's not like you're over here and the dream's over there and you're real and the dream's fake. You're having the dream. You're in the dream. The dream is you. The dream is an expression of you. The dream is a picture of what you're doing at the moment, but it's all you. But you don't gain or lose anything from the dream. The dream is just your process, whatever. I mean, you can't, obviously you can't say what it is. So you're doing this life. You're doing this life. You were born and you were a kid and you had all this weird stuff happen to you, and now here you are, and there's going to be probably more weird stuff happen, and then one day you'll be on your deathbed, and then you'll die. Right? The moment of your death, what you are and where you are is exactly the same as the moment of your birth. It's just this here. Always this here. Right now, it's this here. You go to sleep, it's this here. You start dreaming, it's this here. It looks different. It doesn't look like anything. But it's always this here. And it's like, wow, this is amazing. It's incredible. This is like unbelievable. Yeah, but so what? It's just completely obvious. It's pedestrian. It's everyday. It's like, well, duh, it's this here. Here I am, right? It's like, well, duh. Am I ever not here? It's always just, here I am. So, this is amazing. All the stuff, all the incredible hyperbole that all these spiritual masters have been saying for thousands of years is all literally true. But what's on TV? It's like, so what? Who cares? Because it's all of that stuff means is just this. Just no big. It's just this that's going on. I mean, it's huge. It's vast. It's inconceivable. It's grand. It's transcendental and eternal and divine. You are the Atman, Gugu Vijud. But like, so what? All of that means that's just a way of referring to just what this is. It's not anything new. It's not anything new right now than it was 5 minutes ago or an hour ago or 10 days ago. Right? And it's just, there you are. Weird stuff happening.
So like the most enlightened person doesn't have more of a handle on
The most enlightened person knows there's nothing to have a handle on. That's the only thing you can really know. The only real knowledge you can have is that knowledge is impossible.
That's really fuzzy too.
Which is actually, well, it is fuzzy. It is fuzzy because it refers to itself. But that's powerful. That's not just hyperbole. That's not just a cute witty thing to say. It's actually, you can actually know for a fact that you can't know anything. And that turns out to be actually a very powerful fact.
It's an actual, like a grokking knowing, not just like
Sure.
a conceptual knowing.
It's not, you feel it. It's really obvious. You see it. It's just completely blatantly obvious. I mean, I haven't memorized all this stuff. I'm not like doing some kind of a speech that I like, it's like, okay, now, God, I'm up to page 87. What came next? I mean, I'm just talking what this is.
Right.
And it is what it is. And there's no limit to how clearly you can see it is what it is. You'll never get a handle on it.
Yeah.
You'll never know what that is. Like, oh, it's it's not like that. But you can know that absolutely clearly and absolutely intimately.
No doubts ever touch it anymore.
But that this is what it is not in doubt. And the doubt would be about, but do I have it right? And there's no right to have it. It's just this. It has it right. I don't have shit. What do I have? I mean, I can, spout bullshit. But what I say or doesn't say doesn't change what this is. And that's the important fact. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about what we know or don't know. It's about what this is. And what this is nakedly available. It's right here. Check it out. It's not hidden. It's not even not obvious. I mean, once you get a little bit of a hint, a little clue, it's like, well, duh. You know, is this weird? Well, yeah. Do I have even the slightest clue what anything is? No.
Does it feel like there's a difference between this or it and you?
Between a what?
Between like we talk about it and you?
No, because there's no me. There's no me. There's just this.
It's all just
Yeah, the idea that there's a me and an it is again is sloppy thinking. When you go look at it, you don't find a me that is separate from. You don't find a me here and an it there with some disjunction in between, with some gap, with some wall or moat or or vacuum. It's not like that. It's everything. Everywhere you look, it's continuums. So this cup is this cup. This cup, sure, this cup is this cup, right? But when I look at this cup, the floor comes with it, right? All you people come with it. The walls, the whole room, my whole field of experience comes with this cup. So when I look at this cup, I'm looking at my field of experience, which strangely presents as degrees of focus and degrees of localization. But these degrees of focus and degrees of localization don't ever cut the continuum into separate entities. Everything comes. You can't take anything out of your experience and put it over here. Everything comes with the whole ball of wax. So is this cup? Sure. Is this half of this cup, this half, and that half? Sure. Is this half? Is the top of this half is different from the bottom of this half? Different from the top? Sure. Is this molecule of paper different from the molecule right next to it? Sure. But having said all that, I haven't been talking about anything. I've been spitting bullshit because all I'm really talking about is degrees of focus within this continuum.
So like thoughts of I, they don't ever like seduce you if they're like feeling like a separate entity.
A thought of I is just a thought of I. You look at where it's happening, and it again, thought of I happens in a continuum of mind, say, whatever. You can't say what mind is. I mean, so the thought of I is there. There's the thought of I, and you go look for anything that's not thought of I that's also present, and it's equally present. And you can't find a point where there's no umbilical that's been cut, where the I is over here, and it's actually I can take the I and hold it over here, and it's completely separate from. Right? It's not like that. It's always a continuum. So feelings of personality, feelings of motivation, feelings of being emotionally torqued, memory. I mean, all of these different things appear, but all they are is like flavors or qualities or sort of upwellings of whatever, of a vibe in this continuum of your experience, right? And the continuum never goes away because all this stuff comes up in it. And anything that comes up in it, there's also going to be stuff present which is to some degree not that. So an I thought comes up, okay, cool. So there's something which is arguably to some degree not the I thought that is equally present. And if I look at the one and look at the other, there's no one and no other. It's all just this. It's a smear that looks different here than it does there. But it looks different at every single point of focus. I mean, look at your field of vision. Can you find any 2 points, no matter how close together, that look exactly the same? Color, brightness, darkness, everything. It's like, in other words, if suppose you divided your field of vision into some arbitrary number of, billions of pixels or whatever, every pixel would have a different color, a different brightness, a different thing going on. And in the next instant, it would be different again because it's all changing and morphing, right? Field of vision is continually moving. So, oh no, but that pixel is that, and this pixel is this. And this is not that. It's like, it's all just this morphing weirdness. It's like looking at clouds and saying, oh no, that cloud's a lion. And that cloud over there is a Bridget Bardot, and the lion is not Bridget. And it's like, it's a cloud, and the clouds are the sky, and it's all just a continuum.
But that's sort of cool too. I mean, how the pixels can actually come together and make something.
Absolutely, the way it all seems to work and function, and the dynamism and all of that.
I know it does.
The way these patterns seem to work within themselves It's just endless weirdness. I mean, look at all these life forms and chains of event and cause and effect and all this stuff that seems to be going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as
It's
fantastic.
so intricate.
As a dream. I mean, you know, when
Yeah.
you sleep in a dream, you
Right.
wake up and say, "Oh, geez, that was really weird." Well, this is sort of pretty weird.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's all. It all happens in the same way. Different phenomena are just different degrees of sameness. You know, the way the waking experience happens and the way the dream experience happens are different, but only by degree. It's basically all the same. You know, but dreams are continually morphing. Well, your waking experience is continually morphing. Every instant you experience what you're experiencing in that instant, and you never experienced exactly what you're experiencing right now before, and now it's already gone. You're experiencing something else. You know, it's continually morphing with absolute instability. You know, it's arguably a higher degree of continuity, let's say, in the waking state and the dream state. But that's argument because it's absolutely discontinuous. So more continuous and absolute discontinuity is kind of a splitting hairs.
Yeah, you know, I mean, noticing in the waking, if you're really noticing, is weirder than a dream. I mean, than a nighttime dream.
Well, maybe yes, maybe no. You can do noticing in a dream too.
Maybe.
Well, I can.
Yeah, no, I guess that's right. Is that lucid dreaming?
I don't know. What's that even mean?
Noticing isn't a particular kind of consciousness.
No. Noticing is a trick to play with what's going on here. And so you play a game. It's like you're playing a game with yourself where, well, here I'm in my normal dullness. Let me do some noticing. Or like, hey, somebody get outside that. It's like, wow. It's you know, remember the Dumbo movie and the magic feather?
Yeah.
Noticing is a magic feather.
Absolutely.
Now I'm outside. No, it's so wonderful. I'm
Now
showing
I
how
can
wonderful
fly.
it is. Yeah. But there's nothing but. I mean, there's only one thing happening here, and it always happens exactly the same way. So you do the math.
It's all like limited. How come, like in a dream, like it seems like there's more like availabilities, other possibilities, like flying or whatever. And yet, in this sort of reality, it seems like there's more. The limitations are more set in or more ruled or imposed.
Seems that way, but when you go looking for these limitations, you can't actually find them.
I mean, like if I try to fly right now.
Sometimes you can't fly in a dream. I don't know. You know why? In other words, why do the patterns seem to appear with with degrees of dynamism that they seem to appear with? How can you answer that? Who knows? All degrees, because when you look very precisely and very closely at experience, it's continually and absolutely morphing instantaneously. So in other words, the present moment has always, the circumstances of the present moment, what you're experiencing is already something else in the instant. It's not like it's a certain way for a while and then it morphs into something else. And then it's not like that. It's continually slipping away. Right? Exactly what you're experiencing now is already, you know, it's like you're shooting out into space and flying, you know, I mean, whatever, right? But that's argument, because if I look at my, because I'm experiencing so, you know, like I'm experiencing thoughts and fantasies and sensations and all this weird amorphous disconnected thing that doesn't have a whole lot of rhyme or reason or patterning to it. And the sort of explicit pattern that the conscious mind locks onto. No, I'm just sitting in a chair talking in the same room is very heavy-handed censoring of the actual degree of subtlety of all the impressions that are occurring in the instant, all fantasies and memories and moods and vibes and sensations in my body and just all these different things that are just just going on like the Northern Lights, like a light show. It's just endless, And so what's happening? Well, I can say, well, I'm just sitting in a chair talking, but that doesn't describe the totality of my field of experience. Even remotely, it's absurd. Again, that's more censorship. That's more limiting it. It's creating limitation through pretending I can define it, rather than acknowledging the explicit and concrete actuality of absolute undefinability. You can't ever say what's happening in the instant because A, it's too much, and B, it's already gone. It's not here long enough for you to know what it is.
Can you say it seems like it's that?
Sure, absolutely. You can say anything.
Yeah, seeming.
Seeming is a wonderful notion.
Is seeming a little bit different than, say, like a heavy-handed concept?
I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. You can't say what anything is. So saying that, seeming is, seeming is, this and
yeah.
Really?
It seems a little light.
Can do that.
So they can be like a relaxing from the describing and defining.
Yeah, what a load off. It's really a lot of work. Weltschmerz, that word? It means the pain of the world. It's a German word. And it's, that feeling of most people, like after a day, it's like you settle in bed and you're like, oh, Jesus, thank God. It's a bed. It's like life sucks. The basic, God, being alive is just a lot of work. What's really the work isn't being alive, isn't doing your life. The real work is all just holding it together, trying to pretend that you have a handle on things. It's a lot of effort because it has to be recreated every instant. It doesn't actually have any persistence. So if you're pretending you have a handle on things to yourself, you have to be doing that in real time continually. And it's a lot of work. And letting go of that into just, I don't know, whatever. What a load off. It's like, thank God. Whew. Getting a little cool in here. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
You talk about like the randomness of the non-continuity, and yet it seems like even though you're saying my hand is different in every moment, yet it seems like it's consistently there, and that it's that it's grown since I was younger,
sure,
smaller, and does that.
Because
would that mean
because disconnectedness and discontinuity and all that can't be found either. I assert them because they're contrary to normal consensus reality, so it's a good deconstructive technique, but it's a lie. It's bullshit. It's just more bullshit. Because even that can't be found. No, nothing can be found. That this is a certain way. So nothing is ruled out. Nothing is off the table. You can say, is there absolute continuity? Sure. Is there absolute discontinuity? Sure. It's not like you can say, no, it's not that, it's this. There's no this that you can say it is, which means any this is as good as any other this. So is life doing itself and you're completely have no causal effect on your actions, no choice? Absolutely. Or can you participate with your actions with absolute intimacy and engagement? Absolutely. You can't prove it one way or the other. So the both points of view have a lot of merit, but you can't. But at the end of the day, you can't say you can't find either of them. They're both just sort of arguments.
Well, it's impossible.
And so you don't let one point of view that seems to contradict another point of view actually invalidate the other point of view.
Yeah.
So don't let the fact that you have no free will stop you from exercising your free will.
Yeah.
Don't let the fact that there's absolute discontinuity stop you from, being continuous, and vice versa.
Like, you think this?
Don't use any of these concepts as a boat anchor, as a ball and chain to limit yourself. Use them as long as they're convenient, and when they're not, screw them. Throw them out. You want to use free will. Use free will. Use the power of choice. You want to use fate and destiny and karma. Use it, but it doesn't have at it. It doesn't matter, because both of them are just up for grabs. They're both just arguments.
But like just us being the way we are, do you think that like implies some sort of underlying purposefulness or intentional planning or
Again,
intelligent
that's
pattern?
maybe yes, maybe no. A strong argument can be made both ways. End of the day, you can't know. And yet, there is one fact. There is one precise fact. This is exactly what it is, exactly the way it is. As soon as you try and say what that is, that's when you put your foot in it. But that is the case. And that's not just sophistry. That's a powerful fact. Again, this is actual. It may be endlessly weird and transcendental and completely unanalyzable, but it is actual. You can't say what actual means, but it's palpable that is the case.
It's also uncomparable. You can't.
Of course.
There's no. This is the way it is. This, and there's nothing to compare.
Yeah, this is the way it is. The way that this is the way it is.
So there's just any sense of comparison is just a dream you're having,
Sure.
which is part of this. But it's that's all. So
So have fun.
So that potential purposefulness is already part and parcel of it.
Sure. I mean, maybe. Again, it's a way of holding this, which is, and any way of holding it is as viable as it is, but no way of holding it is provable.
So there's no like God outside of this that's like parting some sort of purpose or.
If there is, then that is this, the way that is this, being itself the way that it is itself.
What are all these interpretations of God and Vishnu and Krishna and mandalas and things to calm the human mind when it gets upset, when human beings go to find peace? What is all of this?
Well, most of it, as you say, is like fairy tales for
Candy.
It's like fairy tales for upset children. So there, it's okay, whatever. And that's great. You can play with all that stuff to the degree you find it useful. We can go there. We can do that. You can find peace, or you can find soothingness, or you can find these altruistic qualities. But at the end of the day, none of them are really the end of the line. They're all just another mode of you pass through and move on to whatever.
It could be completely empty and just open white space.
Sure. Many rooms are. And if you're in the room, the only important fact is you here. Like always. The important fact of this room is you here. If that fact wasn't the fact, then this room wouldn't even exist as far as you know. Right?
So if there's some advanced alien races out there somewhere in the universe, are they just playing the same game we are, just seeing the same reality?
Of course.
Unfolding
If they are that, they are this. Because this is it. Humans are this, vegetable kingdom is this, matter is this, energy is this, space and time is this. And it's all you. It's what you, all that is what that is what you are. I find a discontinuity. It's not like, well, there's this great vast universe out there and I'm a part of it. I'm a little spark of it. You can't find that because you can't find the destruction. There's no point where you end and outer space begins. It's all this. It's all you.
If this is this, then isn't your instantaneous awareness, aren't you just irrelevant to yourself?
Sure.
So what's the point?
I don't know.
Then you might as well just be homeless in the street.
Many people are.
I know.
But you don't have to be. You can say you might as well be homeless in the street, or you might as well be a CEO of a mega corporation, or a rich playboy, or a rock star, or a whatever. I mean, it's all up for grabs. It's all down to your luck and your artfulness and your interest and your motivation, right?
Do you think it has a preference, like peace over war or something?
Well, clearly not. Creation over destruction, well. I mean, arguably, again, this is just, but again, it's a part that doesn't hold up. Arguably, entropy argues that it has a preference. In other words, it's going towards patternlessness. It's going towards patterns breakdown. But then life forms are the opposite of entropy. So what's up with that? So even entropy doesn't hold up. You know what entropy is? Entropy is the aspect of physics that all systems, the energy state of all systems tends to dissipate and become homogeneous. So in other words, a hot light bulb in a cool room, the room will tend to heat up and the light bulb will tend to cool down. Or, if you take a bit of air and put it in a vacuum, the air will tend to spread out and fill the vacuum. Or, the phenomenon more close to home, if someone farts in a room, the smell tends to dissipate and spread out through the whole space. And so this is basically entropy. In other words, it doesn't tend. The universe seems not to function the opposite way. It seems not to be that randomly, a whole bunch of, randomly all of a sudden all the oxygen in the room doesn't gather in that corner of the room and leave the rest of the room in a vacuum. It could, but it tends to do the opposite. It tends to dissipate, and so that principle is called entropy. It's defined in physics. It's defined rather specifically in terms of energy states, going to the lowest, blah blah blah. But anyway, who gives a shit? Because that's, unless you're into physics, it's just a bunch of mathematics. But life forms are the opposite of that. So so again, that's just another argument. Even that doesn't stand up at the end of the day. I mean, from my point of view, just as an overview, the whole point is to just let yourself have fun noticing how cool this is. Rather than, letting yourself get sucked into some limited idea of life sucks and we're screwed. I mean, that's available too. I mean, that itself is pretty cool from certain points of view. But you can, but when you can be with this more flexibly and open-endedly, you can dance around with it and, maximize your fun. Have fun with it. May as well. What the heck, right?
So when people say they've gone through a distinct shift, is it just that it just randomly happened to have played out that way?
Who knows? Again, you can't get to the bottom of that.
It's not like that's like some sort of a requisite for everybody. Everyone can.
Again, you can't say. Who knows? I mean, this kind of a argument and analysis comes up in spirituality all the time. It's like, well, realization seems to be actually possible, but is it just like random grace of God? You get some person gets struck by a lightning, or the enlightenment fairy hits them with a pink stick or something, or is it because they went through years of karmic purification and refining their this and that and this spiritual practice, and who knows? It's all up for grabs. No one knows anything. You can't say what anything is or how anything happens or even if it happens. You can say it seems to be happening, and you can even say it seems to be happening this way or that way. But if you're honest with yourself and you look at it, you'll see, well, yeah, but there's a lot of other ways I could also see it that are equally viable.
So even someone who's gone through a shift, it's not like they necessarily have something that I don't, or something like.
No. But, well, I would say one thing is for sure. What this is, what you are, is what there is. And what it is and the way it is what it is absolutely beyond space and time and unchanging. So that, if you realize that, you haven't actually gained anything. It may be really cool because you get to go, oh my God, I'm all space and time. The universe exists because of me. That's literally true. I can say that and I mean it because it's literally true. But on the other hand, so what? It's actually nothing new. I've always been that. Everything's over. You're that. The dirt on this carpet is that. So it's as grandiose as that sounds, it's a zero-sum game. You haven't gained anything. On the other hand, if it's possible to discover that and you can discover it, have at it. Because it's kind of a cruel thing to do. One could argue. But another person could argue, oh yeah, but getting lost in this sucky life is a cool thing to do too. And hey, seems to be the most popular game in town. So,
an infinite sum game.
Well, yeah, sure, of course.
I mean, there's just no edge to anything.
No, nothing. No boundaries, no edge.
Keep running.
All bets are off, or not. And the point is really to not paint yourself into a corner. Or if you do, don't worry about it.
It's kind of crazy to think about this without a purpose.
Well, but again, if you look at it closely, all purposes are basically spin doctored into existence. So it's bravado. My great purpose is such and such.
Pretty overwhelming.
Well, it is. It's the magnitude of this is inconceivable. It's inconceivably amazing. But on the other hand, it always has been that, so it's also very familiar. It's only really overwhelming by contrast with our fantasies that it was less than that, but it never was less than that. We think about if we have a self-image of ourselves as this little mediocre human being, this sort of half-assed primate monkey running around in this vast universe, more or less clueless and trying to fake it. If you have that image of yourself, then when you get to see what this is, it's like, whoa, hold the phone. This is really amazing. But on the other hand, it's only by contrast that it is that, because it never was really anything other than that.
That's exactly what Stephen Hawking said.
Oh, yeah?
He said just what you just said.
Great mind.
Yeah, we're basically, he said, I'm paraphrasing, we're on a small planet, an average star on the outskirts of a suburb on a mediocre galaxy of one of the tens of millions of the universe. And then he added some sugar on top by saying that human potential is unlimited because the universe is endlessly expanding. I think that was designed to make the audience feel good. But
He's a mere physicist. If he was a mystic, he would know that even that is actually everything. Every atom is an expression of and includes the entire universe. So the atom isn't just a mere atom in a mere planet, in a mere galaxy, in a mere this or that, because it may be that from that point of view, but from the other point of view, that atom is an expression of the totality of the universe, inclusive.
Yeah.
It's like a tree is an expression of the whole biosphere of Earth. It's not like the biosphere is there, the life force of the Earth is there, and the tree comes up as a separate thing. The biosphere, the life force of the Earth, grows the tree, just like your life force grows your hair. And the hair is not, it's not like, oh, the hair is separate from you. No, the hair is you. You're doing the hair. And the hair comes and the hair goes, but you don't go anywhere. The trees come and the trees go, but the biosphere doesn't go anywhere. And the biosphere is an outgrowth of the energy potential of space-time itself. So even when the biosphere comes and goes, when the planets are created and destroyed, where they come from it doesn't come or go. So, and that's when the biosphere is here, the space-time it comes from is right here too. So it's a continuum. It's an outgrowth of the same thing. So every atom includes the whole universe. So you include the whole of reality, because you're an outgrowth of the reality grew you, and it's not like it chopped it off. Reality is right there extruding you, and here you are, but that's just an outgrowth of the whole thing, and it comes with.
They were trying to pin him, Stephen Hawking, down for his what he thought what God was, and he despiritualized reality into a dense planet, a small planet circling another star, mediocre galaxies of nowhere, and he's expanding things. So there was no trace of that.
Yeah, but he hasn't found this unified field yet. I'm talking about the unified field. I have. I'm one step ahead of him. On the other hand, he's got the math, and I'm just a schmuck. I wonder if you mind getting me a half cup of chai with a little shot of sugar. Yeah, that'd be good. Thanks.
Stephen Hawking is basically a Christian fundamentalist.
I have no idea.
Yeah, he believes in intelligent design.
He's a physicist. That says it all. He's a cultist.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's an atheist. He's an atheist.
He seems in on
He's still looking for the unified field, though. Staring him in the face, and he's looking for him.
But he thought that was going to be the Boson molecule, the Boson particle. But it turned out that it was the actual impact of the accelerated atoms that created the Boson particle, not that it existed on its own. So he's got another 50 million years to try to find that.
But he's a physicist. He's limited by the tools of physics, which again is only one game in town out of the infinite possible games. So physics, what you can do with physics is a very small part of what can be done. So physicists limit themselves by constraining themselves to the rules of physics. I say cheat. Why cheat and steal? Change the numbers. Oh, thanks a lot.
He also wants to express it as numbers.
Yeah, and it's unexpressible. But it doesn't need to be expressed because here it is. You want the unified field? Ta-da! Ladies and gentlemen, I have discovered the unified field. What's that?
I said, well, the unified field, let's take it apart in the first place. I mean, the unified field theory, by definition, has to be equal to 1. And if they ever got there, it has to be equal to 1. Right?
Sure, or 0 or infinity or whatever.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, you can pretend to take out gravity, you pretend to take out space-time, and then figure out how to put them back together to equal this. Right? I mean, that's basically the game.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is not a physics symposium. I'm grateful for that, and I expect you may be grateful. This is a bullshit session. We're talking bullshit here, not physics.
Steal what's rightfully yours.
Yeah.
What's usually the first thoughts you have in the morning when you open up your eyes?
The first thought?
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Like, how cool is it? Wow. I'm a
Something like that. I mean, it's definitely weirdness. It's always like, I try to figure out what's going on, fail miserably, go up and have a pee and get some coffee. Probably same thought anyone has.
I see those statues of the Buddha who's got big belly and big hearty laugh. And then, like whenever I hear like the Buddhist describe the Buddha, it seems like they describe him as a very serious person. He was a very like it seemed like he went about it very serious, morally.
But it's not really known. That all of that stuff is totally spin doctored. No one knows what the Buddha actually did. There were no videotapes or tape recorders or anything back then. And the descriptions of the Buddhist scriptures weren't even written down until 200 years after the guy died. And so how accurate do you think they are about what, they're like, they're just sort of very cleaned up, polished, stylized version. The master came in, who knows what he really did, if he was a human being, he was, he was dirty sometimes and he smelled sometimes and, he tripped once in a while and, he sometimes had like a little bit of food on his lip, Sometimes he, had indigestion.
Yeah, it seems unfortunate that like people kind of get to control what the model.
People, when you're into delusion, you want a fantasy, and people like fantasies, so they construct these really glorious fantasies. Because a glorious fantasy, if you're going to orient to fantasies, why orient to some mediocre fantasy? May as well go for real pie in the sky. Real Buddhism is not about, with the Buddha, the actual guy who they call the Buddha, what he was doing was not about fantasy, but he discovered he's doing the same thing we're doing here, looking at what's going on here, what is it? And it's not what you think it is.
I'm really glad I had that one.
No, I agree, but most people do not really want reality. They want Disneyland. They want pie in the sky. People don't want the real world. They don't want, they want their glorification. Reality is it's too sloppy, it's too indeterminate, it's too neither here nor there. But you can polarize it and it's like, I'm a Democrat, no, I'm a Republican. It's like these ideal, absurd fantasies rather than we all are. No one knows what's going on and we're muddling through. It's not so hard to get worked up about that. It's like, okay. Like the Super Bowl, you get these, all these people, oh my, go Seattle, go, and all this millions and millions of dollars, and everyone watching it and getting drunk, and the whole inconceivable extravaganza of that. And it's all just, a bunch of people running around doing stuff. It's like, what? What? Is this really such a big deal? It gets blown into a big deal because of the fantasy component. Oh, but it's a Super Bowl, the Super Bowl. Oh my God. This is it, the one, the only. The Buddha, the one, the only Buddha. It's not just a schmo like you or me, he's the Buddha. Jesus Christ. I'm not worthy to be dog shit under his feet on the sidewalk. He was the Son of God.
When you spoke about the Buddha, when you spoke about, by the way, when you were in the place, you probably spoken to this before, so pardon me.
Oh, no. Oh.
When you spoke about the Buddha, about Jesus Christ, or anything that happened in the last 10,000 years, speaking to the Akashic records, supposedly, that some human beings can access,
Mhm.
is that part of reality, and why is it so hard to access?
Well, it's part of reality if it is, and it's part of reality in the way that it is. But like everything, it's liable to be fuzzy. I mean, all information is let's say all signal has noise associated with it. All information has inaccuracy associated with it. Even you remember what you had for lunch yesterday. Your memory is not actually what you had for lunch. Your memory of eating lunch yesterday deviates from what actually your experience that actually happened. It's a reconstruction that has inaccuracies built into it. So it's the nature of information to have this sort of tendency to drift, tendency to be inaccurate. So definitely. I mean, there's all kinds of psychic phenomena possible. I mean, but there's always a degree of fuzziness involved in all of it. There's degrees of fuzziness involved in anything. I mean, you try and see what a street sign is like, and it says, like, well, I think it, it's never like ultra sharp, crystal clear, precise, accurate. It's always a little, degrees of fuzziness, degrees of haziness. And again, even that anything is the way that it is not precise and provable and demonstrable. I mean, a person who has some degree of psychic abilities, you may have a theory that it's, I'm seeing the Akashic records, or I can read your aura, or I can, foretell the future, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it may look like that, but you can't tell what's actually going on. There's no bottom line that you can prove it or demonstrate precisely what it is and how it is and all that. It's all degrees of vagueness and degrees of who knows. But that doesn't invalidate it. So again, it's all like everything else. It's all participatory to the degree you can get any mileage out of it. Right? I mean, all this religion or spirituality or psychic phenomena or social involvement. I mean, all of these mediums of participation in your experience are viable to the extent that you're drawn to them or they have meaningfulness for you. But what any of it actually is goes like, end of the day, it's like, I don't know, but it's kind of what I'm into.
How is it that some beings are seemingly able to have those highly advanced psychic abilities and experience different dimensionalities?
Can't say. Check it out. Explore it for yourself and see what you can find. That's the only way to really answer that question, because even if someone answered it from their point of view, it would just be words to you. You need I mean, for example, I have psychic abilities. There's certain things I can do psychically, but I could tell you what I think I'm doing, and it would just be words.
It's just kind of weird. Like, it seems like some people have like certain psychic abilities developed, and yet like they don't seem to really like know their true nature, and vice versa. Some other people are very clear that they,
sure, but you can't, because you can't know the true nature of anything. And if you think you do, you're just, you're spin doctoring yourself. But at the end of the day, again, it's just if you can get some mileage out of something, even if you're thinking that it's a certain way, that's fine. You're welcome to do that. But if you get too heavy-handed about it, no, it really is that way, you're just limiting yourself by doing that. So, but you're always welcome to do that. That's a valuable strategy, and most people spend an awful lot of their energy doing exactly that. But it's, the repercussion is yourself you're actually limiting by insisting things are a certain way. but you're still free to participate in things any way you want, even if you're holding them, hypothetically to be a certain way. But you're doing yourself a favor by letting yourself be a little open-ended about that. It feels to me like it's that way. Maybe it isn't, but it feels like it's that way. Now that's less limiting. It's less, you're trapping yourself in your own, censorship. That's like exactly.
So, what I heard you just say in the last paragraph is that the language and words are the limitation.
Yes,
And
precisely.
you must not conceive of language and words. It's your awareness of an instant. And you can participate in reality if you want, or you can draw back to nothingness, which is your awareness. Your awareness is basically nothingness, right?
Well,
So
it's essentially, from the point of view of words, it's certainly nothing.
you simply exist between those thoughts, and
Right.
it's just you're aware.
Yeah.
You're aware, awareness, and you're talking about all this participation, morality, PTSD, social activity, religion, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
All of that is just your awareness participating.
Right.
Your awareness is just you and nothingness.
Right. Exactly so.
So you can almost withdraw to nothing.
Sure. Yeah, sure, absolutely. And you don't even really need to withdraw to that because you never left that. Your awareness never went anywhere other than awareness. But we let ourselves, if we let ourselves get seduced by our ideas of things, get ourselves seduced by the language we're using to describe what we think we're doing, then we tie ourselves in knots of our own self-definition. But the awareness never actually gets stuck in it, because how could that happen? How can the nothingness get stuck in anything? but still in all, we get confused about the whole thing.
That's why, like I know what you said is the order of the day, where life's a bitch and you die. You can't shake anybody out of that.
No,
It's impossible.
they have to see this for themselves.
Yeah.
And even when they think they're in that, they aren't really in that. Because as you say, the awareness never becomes anything other than nothingness. So how can that get stuck in a sucky life? It can seem to be.
That could lead to mental illness.
Oh, that's the nature of mental illness. It's the nature of mental. It's like a nightmare, right? A nightmare. You can have a nightmare, and the nightmare doesn't really hurt you, right? Because the dreamer is never actually in the dream, even if it's experiencing being in the dream. But on the other hand, if the nightmare is happening and you're all caught up and you say, God, this really sucks. This is terrible. What am I going to do? I know this is horrible. It can seem like you're stuck in it, even though you're not actually stuck in it. And that's what happens when people get stuck in their own idea of, oh, I'm stuck in life in this terrible situation and I'm nothing to do and I'm screwed.
Societal distraction.
Yeah, and it's all basically imaginary, because even the degree to which that is happening, it's still happening in your awareness, in your experience, in the essential nothingness of the field.
Yeah, so if you have 50 million people watching the Super Bowl, you still want to keep your awareness and your nothingness.
Yeah.
You have chaos.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't want that.
No, maybe not. Mm.
So as awareness, we don't necessarily have to do anything.
Of course not, but you will find yourself doing things, apparently. But even when you're doing things, you're not really sure, you can't be certain whether you're actually doing them or even whether they're actually happening. It just kind of, all you can say is it seems to be that way. I seem to be sitting here talking. Maybe I'm hallucinating it all. Right? Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's, a vision. I mean, who knows what? But it seems to be what it seems to be, the way it seems to be that. But whatever it seems to be, it's also open-ended as to exactly what it is. And so it's just on this weird.
If you bring language into it.
Right, language tries to pin it down, but of course the actual flow of experience can't actually be pinned down accurately. So language oversimplifies it, right? Language creates like a caricature of it. It says like, well, what's really happening here is I'm sitting here talking, as if that summed up the totality of my experience, right? In the moment where I'm having all these feelings and emotions and memories and fantasies and, you know, God, daydreams, who knows what's going on in my experience, right? But the language comes in. Language can't include all that weirdness, right? So language comes in and says, "Oh, I'm sitting here having a talk." Oversimplified. Well, I'm doing this. I'm doing this because of that. Really? Is that some of that? Well, anyway, it's about quitting time. Thank you all very much for joining me. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you. And have a lovely evening.